Welcome to Nguyen Nam Podcast channel. In 2014, DreamWorks Animation announced that it was putting Lassie on the comeback trail, but not in the way you might think. We realized that Lassie has an authenticity that makes her a merchandising holy grail, DreamWorks executive Michael Francis crowed to the New York Times. Francis, the man behind Target's fabulously successful Bull Terrier pitch dog, Bullseye, said that the 76-year-old icon will shepherd in a line of Lassie products, dog food, beds, collars, grooming tools, whatever trinkets market research suggests people will buy. Oddly, a return to her greatest glory, movies and television, is not part of the plan. Stories of a boy and his dog, even one who is viewed as a national treasure, just can't compete with zombie slayers and superheroes. Like a Christmas puppy abandoned as summer vacation approaches, Lassie, movie moguls believe, doesn't have what it takes to capture the hearts of today's young people. Is it possible that Lassie Come Home has lost her way in the modern world? In many ways, that makes sense. Dogs like them, after all, belong to an earlier era, centuries before the invention of TV, movies, and printing presses, all those machines that made them a household name. Their breed emerged from the primitive shepherd's helpers who may have arrived as early as the Bronze Age, to move and protect livestock in the region now known as Britain. In her superb book, The Collie in America, historian, fancier, and dog show judge Gail Kay said that the word collie showed up first in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Written between 1387 and 1400, ran call our dog. The term appeared often after that, although there is no consensus on its derivation, Kay noted. Centuries passed and they became part of the landscape. Long-haired or rough collies guarding flocks in the Scottish Highlands and a short-haired variety working as drovers' dogs in the harsh lowlands in northern England. There they stayed until sometime in the 1860s, when history's ultimate crazy dog lady, Queen Victoria, took a trip to Scotland and spotted these magnificent dogs. It didn't take long before there was a collie court section of her royal kennel. Scotch Collies debuted in competition 2 years after the first organized British dog show in 1859. In 1873, Irish sportsman Sir Wallis Shirley registered the first sire, Trefoil, the great-granddaddy of all collies today. A queen took collies from farm to show ring, and a captain of industry, John Pierpont Morgan, brought them to America. Like Victoria, Morgan spotted the dogs working on the Scottish hills and had to have one. He purchased an English champion and started his state-of-the-art Cragston Kennels, on the banks of the Hudson, in 1888. Kay wrote he was the king of the collie world in the late 1800s. Morgan's interest propelled the breed to the front of the American stage. But it took a couple of writers, Albert Payson Terhune and Eric Mowbray Knight, to drive the country collie crazy. Although Knight's creation, Lassie, is without a doubt the most famous dog ever, Kay said that Terhune did more to popularize the breed than any other single individual before or since. Starting with the publication in 1916 of his Mate and Redbook magazine, Terhune gave us scores of lovely stories about his own dogs, Lad, Wolf, and Bruce, among others, and their life at Sunnybank, his home in New Jersey. Sunnybank exists to this day as a memorial park, where fans can visit the gravesites of the dogs they grew to love in Terhune's books. Terhune died in 1942, a year before the movie based on Eric Knight's novel, Lassie Come Home, teen child actor Roddy McDowall with soon-to-be four-legged star, Pal, who was turned from a problem pup to the symbol of canine perfection by Hollywood animal trainer Rudd Weatherwax. Wildly popular in the 1950s and 60s, Lassie and her lessons of courage, loyalty, and goodness did not fare well as attitudes grew cynical. A 1990s commercial shows Lassie, tired of saving mishap-prone Timmy over and over, at a computer keyboard consulting a pet adoption website. In the last scene, she's lounging on a couch, and a woman with a French accent says, "Lassie, finish your caviar." The world, it seems, has become too jaded for this four-footed goody two-shoes. But don't try telling that to people lucky enough to share their lives with a Lassie dog. If you have ever known a collie, then you know what it means to have the kindest, most gentle, most caring soul in your midst, according to Tony Bailey, of Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Bailey grew up obsessed with Terhune's books. He took every word he wrote to heart and was determined, at age 11, that he would never marry, but rather raise collies in a place similar to Sunnybank. Life didn't quite follow her script. She married, raised a family, and, for decades, rescued troubled mixed breeds from the pound. Then, in 1998, fate intervened, placing a purebred collie in the local shelter. At the time, Bailey was looking for a new canine family member. The dog, Baden, seemed to have stepped out of Terhune's books. She decided she had to have another collie. Her second, James, described by those who knew him as Clark Gable in fur, led Bailey into the strange, wonderful world of freestyle, aka doggy dancing. Collies, she says, are dogdom's Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, intelligent, forgiving, biddable, with agile, lithe bodies that can master the most intricate steps. That they are stunningly beautiful doesn't hurt either. When they turn and the fur is flying, it wows the crowd, according to Bailey, who, after losing James in August, now dances with her third collie, Prosper. Bailey says collies have the brains to be both partner and choreographer. Most of the moves her dogs did, they had made up themselves. Brilliant as they are on the dance floor and in sports, collies shine brightest when the tasks are harder and the stakes higher. Leslie Rappaport's Kings Valley Collies Kennel in Oregon has produced generations of AKC conformation and performance champions. For the past 2 decades, she has been breeding and training collies to help people with disabilities. The breed, she said, is endowed with an intrinsic richness of character and a highly developed sense of appropriateness needed for these difficult jobs. They also have the ability, as Bailey discovered, to think for themselves, essential in service dogs who sometimes have to disobey human commands. Rappaport's website brims with stories of how service collies opened the world for people with sometimes debilitating mental and physical disabilities, multiple sclerosis, migraines, strokes, car accident injuries, Alzheimer's disease, and autism. At least one of Rappaport's dogs, Ramsey, showed the kind of courage that might seem to have come from a writer's imagination. In 2004, Ramsey was teamed up with Scott, a man disabled by a stroke. 5 years later, while Scott and his partner Jenny were vacationing at Disney World, Jenny took Ramsey for a morning walk. As they stepped into the hotel courtyard, Ramsey started whining and trying to keep her from entering. She ignored his warning, stepped in, and stopped to chat with other guests. Suddenly, the dog leaped in front of her, just in time to block the fangs of the poisonous coral snake that had been lurking in the grass. In minutes, the venom took the life of this brave dog. Had he not been there, the snake most certainly would have gotten Jenny. Perhaps a sacrifice like this isn't spectacular enough for today's movie makers. Perhaps, as one film critic commented about Lassie's revival, young audiences would get bored unless the vintage screen icon turned into a super dog that blows things up. But for the people who love them, the real dog, that glorious combination of beauty, intelligence, courage, loyalty, and love, is superhero enough.